Why does a good man have to die? Another piece of shit to be born. Reasons unheard of tearing my flesh. My heart is ripped, my soul is torn. Why does a good man have to die? Another piece of shit to be born. Your soul is pure when your pockets all dry. My rage is pain in the center of your eye.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, guys? Chris Stolla here for another Realm of the Mist podcast, and joining me is my lovely co-host, Venus.
Hey.
we are a little light on the group today. Unfortunately, John is stuck at work, and nobody's heard from Brian. If you know where he is, tell him his pregnant wife is looking for him.
We cursed him. We fucking cursed him last week. That's what happened.
That's exactly what it is. So we're gonna trudge on without him. We wish him the best and everything else. Hopefully he's doing okay. I'll probably hear from him later, especially after he hears that intro. He'll be like, "That mother."
Yep. Hey guys, don't tell anyone. But but now the world knows.
Well, I'm never
no
said
secrets with you, eh?
Yeah, well, nobody. Here's the question: am I telling the truth or am I lying? If you listen back on the past podcasts, usually every week I come up with something goofy and silly for Brian for his intro. So it's up to the listener to figure out if I'm telling the truth or not.
I think I just blew the cap off that one there.
Probably did, but I'm still gonna plead the fifth on whether it's fact or fiction.
Oh man, poor Brian.
So this one's going to be a little bit of a shorter one because of the fact that it is just Venus and I. We only got a couple things we wanted to discuss. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. First and foremost, a black man was in a wedding dress with a tuxedo jacket last night, seen in Hollywood. In other news, water is wet. No, last night was the Oscars. Venus, did you catch any of it?
No, I didn't. I didn't even know it was on, to be honest.
Yeah,
That's how
I didn't watch any of it either.
I guess unless you have cable, you don't know about these things.
Well, I didn't care. Basically, from what I know of the Oscars, is that the liberal virtual signaling was real, as I expected. Fuck Trump, fuck conservatives, fuck anybody who doesn't think like them. Typical political push by the leftist media. To the point, actually, one of the YouTube political commentators on here who was doing a simulcast stream to the Oscars, Louder with Crowder, was actually blocked and copyright stricken by YouTube for the Oscars because he was sitting there and making fun of it. Literally, he got.
Oh, wow.
I watched that video before we started. They actually took down his stream and gave him a copyright strike because he was sitting there satiring the whole entire thing.
Like, don't these people have any fucking... Is there no humor bones in their body whatsoever?
Well, it's one, no, they don't. Two, it's because they don't share the same point of view. And we were talking about this the other day. I miss the old Democratic platform or the old liberal platform. I don't have to agree with what you believe, but I defend your right to believe it. I don't have to agree with what you say, but I defend your right to say it. They don't do that now.
In Canada now it's hate speech, and now you can actually get charged for hate speech because it's like, I don't like your fucking hat, and it's like, well, my hat doesn't like you, and I'm calling the cops on you. It's like, bitch, suck it up, lose the fucking hat. I'll shoot it off your head, okay?
I watched one on Facebook. This guy was smart enough to grab his phone at a bar, and he was wearing a "Make America Great" hat again. And this heavy set woman was putting her hands all over him, trying to grab the hat, pulling it over his face, calling him all types of different names and slurs and stuff of that nature. And the guy just recorded it with his phone, and the dumb broad did this in front of 4 cops.
What?
They arrested her, and she's like, "What did I do wrong? He's the one that's being hateful."
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, you physically attack someone and, oh my God, blame their hat. Fuck. Why don't they put those little chomper teeth on them? You know, the ones you wind up that they used to have in the dentist office?
Oh, yeah.
They run around.
The teeth and feet, yeah.
Have it running around the brim of your hat. Now comment on my hat, bitch. I'll bite you.
Look, since the beginning of political time for America, I don't know about other countries, but for America, there have always been opposing points of view. There have always been conservative and liberal, or right or left, or whatever the point of view. And I still truly believe that the spectrum is not as broad as people like to make it out to be. I think there's the loony liberals, or the far left, and of course there's your actual race-hating, family tree doesn't fork, alt-right all the way to the right. But you're talking about, like, if you had a foot-long scale where 6 inches would be center, you're talking about maybe 1/4 of an inch on the 1 inch and 1/4 of an inch on the 11 3/4 would be the alt-right and alt-left, and everybody else is your normal conservative and normal liberal, or the Democrat. But the problem is that the extremists are the ones that are most vocal.
Oh, they're the worst. Like I'm a woman, and even all for feminism and stuff, but oh my freaking Lord. Like, how fucking far do they need to take us back? Now you in the US, they're having women being drafted, and they're all pissed off about that.
They wanted equality. That's equality.
That's what you get. With great equality comes great responsibility. Well, thanks for ruining it for everyone else, but not that, like, most of us mind. Like, most of us know how to shoot off a rifle, but...
Look, I'm going to piss off I'm going to piss off every third wave feminist right now who wanted every ounce of the benefits without any ounce of the repercussions of having equality to men with the things like the draft. If you didn't want things like the draft, taking the bad with the good, then you should have stayed housewives. Okay? And I'm not saying that women should be housewives. Don't get me wrong. I'm, for the people that aren't militant lesbians who dress up like men and stuff like that, I'm not saying that women should be housewives. I'm not saying that women should not be equal. I'm not saying that at all. But the ones that wanted all the benefits without any of the repercussions, the only way you get benefits without repercussions of having equality to men is to be the thing you don't want to be.
Oh, well, this makes sense now while they're trying to, like criminalize masculinity and demonize it now.
Which leads us back to the black man in a dress.
But, you know what? Okay,
who was that actor? I don't even know who that was.
I don't know either. Seriously, though, that fashion sense is just a little whack.
I give him credit. I wouldn't have had the balls.
Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely fashion forward, but oh God, I'd fire that designer.
Oh man, but
it's just half man, half woman. It just doesn't make sense unless it's like pink and like a tutu, and then yeah, I could understand. But not the ball wedding gown and the tux top. No.
Look, I'll be honest with you. I have a hard time seeing men in kilts. And I know that's a fashion thing of Scotland. But, I mean, I have a hard time seeing men in kilts. Seeing him in a full-on, like, upper body is tuxedo jacket, tie, shirt, with frills on the sleeves, whatever. But, typical wear for men. And at the bottom, you're looking at, like, a black Cinderella dress.
Like a whole ballroom gown, like...
Yeah.
I wonder what shoes he was wearing.
Like, dude, if he wasn't black, he'd be red with embarrassment. Like, I know I would. I know I would. My face would be so red. Even if I was trying to make a statement, like we're all the same, or whatever story they're trying to push, I would still feel so embarrassed walking around in that.
Doesn't that kind of remind you of when was it? Like, I don't know. I remember seeing this as a kid, and like the people that would dress up as half man on the side and half woman on the other side. So when you saw the left side of their face, they looked like females, and when they turned to the right side, they looked like men.
Well, actually, you bring up a very good point. Most of the political points of view nowadays that's being pushed by the liberal media and celebrities and stuff like that really does remind me of the circus sideshows. The fat woman who can eat anything, and the two-headed twins, and the half man, half woman, and all them. Yeah, it's exactly what it feels like. That's exactly what it feels like. But the difference is when we used to go see those free, those quote unquote free shows at Barnum and Bailey, we knew it was an act and it was a show. These people nowadays thinks it's serious.
The world's a stage, baby. Light it up.
Well, the big things I wanted to touch.
All eyes on you.
That's it. But the big thing I wanted to touch about on the Oscars, the big things is one, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse did take home the Oscar for. These are the only things I know, by the way. Took home the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. Did not see the movie. Wanted to, I did not see it. But, congratulations to Spider-Man. I'm glad to see that comic book movies are finally starting to make kind of a statement in the Academy Awards, which usually the only things that win are like the artsy-fartsy films that really nobody has ever seen.
Oh, those indie films about people's struggles and stuff. Why don't they just write a freaking book? Oh, because nobody reads anymore. That's why they don't write a freaking book.
No, that's exactly true. And then I don't know what ones they won, but I know Black Panther took home like 3 Academy Awards. So congratulations to Black Panther. Although I have my my opinions on why, because quite honestly, Black Panther was not a good film. I'm sorry to all the people that Wakanda forever. No, it was a shit film. I'm sorry. I actually
liked it.
I didn't. There was the same deal with like Supergirl. It was just way too much political put in. Goes back to what I said last week. When I go to see a film or see a show or something of that nature, I'm going to escape reality for a couple hours. Don't force reality down my throat or your political points of view down my throat while I'm trying to escape that crap. Yeah, and I mean I don't mean to just pick on the left, because I know majority of the entertainment is very liberal minded, but I'm the same way if it was all conservative. Like, look, I don't come here to hear this stuff. If I want to hear that stuff, I'll watch the news. I'll turn on CNN or The Blaze or something of that nature that specifically targets political viewpoints. When I go to a comic book movie or a science fiction show or a comedy show or something of that nature, I'm going because I want to escape that day-to-day narrative that's jammed down my throat and have a couple hours of release.
Yeah, see, I didn't really get that much from Black Panther, but I kind of got more to like the character states of mind, like, okay, what's happening? There's like a king brawl going on. Like, yeah.
Well, see, that's the thing that disappointed me about Black Panther was the fact that I couldn't enjoy the characters in the show and the movie because of the political viewpoints that were pushed. That being said, I love the characters.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta ignore that shit, though.
Yeah, I know.
Take a deep breath, and grab some more popcorn, some beef jerky, and
no, you're
maybe sneak a beer into the theater.
You're absolutely right. It's more on me than on the film. With that aspect.
Get you, though. Like after like so many movies like that, it's like, okay, now I'm just used to it. It's like, fuck me, like why am I even here? But yeah, if you kind of get past that, like I have a listening problem, so I could just pretty much turn off anything I don't want to pay attention to.
Well, there you go.
So I guess that works for me. Oh yeah, and I mean the snacks and everything, like fuck yeah.
All right, then the last thing I wanted to do is they did pay tribute to the late great Stan Lee, creator of all the Marvel stuff that we're talking about, including Spider-Man and Black Panther. Comic book icon, cameo in movies icon. But I felt remiss that they did not give even a mention to Lee Emery, the gunnery staff sergeant from Full Metal Jacket, and known for many other things, has devoted his life to the servicemen and women of the United States. Had shows on like the Military Network and stuff like Mailbag, and showing different types of like weaponry of the United States military. The guy was always about the military and showing it in not only its full might, but in full respect that the military deserves. I felt that it was almost insulting that they didn't even give him so much as like, a split second up on the big screen. Like, how do you feel about that? I mean, I don't even know if you know who Lee Emery is.
Hey, well, this is America, right? Jesus.
most people do know, but they would recognize, you would recognize the voice if you saw him.
Oh, isn't he? Oh, Jesus Christ! I'm trying to think. Didn't he have some like cool car or something?
He might have. I don't know. I've always known him as the military, dealing with the military and stuff of that nature. He's done a lot of movies. He's outside of like Full Metal Jacket. He was never like a main character. He was always kind of the not behind the scenes.
Is he in the
like
Dukes of Hazzard?
Are you talking about the one with Johnny Knoxville, Dukes of Hazzard?
No, like the original. Dukes of Hazzard.
No, not him.
Oh no, that's the Wait a second. Yeah, the General Lee. Jesus fuck. It's Monday. Okay, it's fucking Monday.
All right, well, we'll make you feel better. We're going to continue on with the entertainment news before we get into anything more political. Not much going on in the world of entertainment. It is reported that Captain Marvel seems to be losing money, even though it hasn't even released yet. Last reported, it was supposed to be projected to make $100 million opening weekend. That dropped down to about $40 million, and now it's being reported that Captain Marvel is already costing up to $100 million to Marvel. I'm not exactly sure how. I haven't heard this yet, but I haven't really delved deep enough into this. Brian was supposed to do that. But if these reports are true, do you think this is because she's a woman? Do you think it's because people are sick of the comic book genre movie? Or is it literally because of her pro third wave feminist movement, where she's demanding things like she wants to create an all-female Avengers being led by Captain Marvel, and she wants no, and I quote, white males on set in her movie, and things of that nature? Like, are these things hurting it, in which case Marvel needs to address? Or is this just because it's a woman and people are being, sexist or whatever? Or is it really just comic book fatigue?
Okay. Well, from my point of view, changing the whole character into a woman, yeah, that was a big step, so it's a little bit edgy. People are going to be iffy about it. But you know what? People are just going to be like, well, who cares? It's a comic book movie, so who fucking cares? And they were going to get over their shit, right? But with her attitude, bitch, please. Nobody wants to spend money on watching that attitude.
Well, see, that's the thing. The character of Captain Marvel, well, to give you a brief history, Captain Marvel originally was a DC Comics character who is now known as Shazam because of a copyright fight with Marvel. There was an original male Captain Marvel, but he passed on his powers in the comics to Carol Danvers, who Blaine Larson is playing. So the character being female is actually correct, but I'm meaning, are people having an issue because it's a female-led comic book character?
No, absolutely not. Like, look at Wonder Woman. That fucking did excellent at the box office. It's her shitty fucking attitude afterwards, like ruining the movies, the whole reputation of everything around her. Like, she doesn't want white people there. She doesn't want men there. Well, okay, guess what? You don't even have to be conservative-minded to be like, okay, well, go fuck yourself, bitch. Like, you don't want anyone there. Okay, princess? Well, your moment of fame is over. 5 minutes passed when you said that.
Well, there you go. I'm pretty much right there with you. I think it's her shitty attitude, and I mean, she's showing no remorse to it either. Like people have called her on it, and she says, "I don't care. It's my movie. I'm going to treat it how I want to treat it and promote it the way I want to promote it." She doesn't even seem to care that she's possibly costing the studio money. I'm going to say possibly because I don't have this completely confirmed. So I'm taking it with a grain of salt. I do know her shitty attitude, and it's turned off people like Brian and myself from even seeing the film.
It's turned me off. Like, I don't want to bring my daughter to that because my daughter's going to be looking at this actor later and like looking at her as a role model and being like, "Oh, mom, well, she said this, she said that." Well, honey, I don't think so. She ain't shit, okay? We're not going.
Well, you just hit the nail right on the head. That's one thing that, like, a lot of these actors and actresses don't seem to get when they're playing these films, and even the directors who are creating these films, is, we're not talking about, like, Boys in the Hood or Gone with the Wind or something of that nature, those types of movies where, they're works of fiction or whatever else, but they're just entertainment. Comic book superheroes, there's a level of responsibility to it because these are role model characters to kids. People grow up idolizing Batman, Superman, Captain Marvel, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, and so on and so forth. If you don't represent them correctly, you're raising a whole generation of kids to be thinking wrong. And I really think her attitude is absolutely wrong. This is not the way you get, whatever message she's trying to get across. This ain't the way to do it.
No, not especially when you're in a role like that. Like, little kids were looking up to you and stuff, and now I'm a mom and I'm like, well, my daughter's going to be looking up you on Google. She's going to be looking up what you said. She's going to be seeing what kind of influence you are, and you're not a good influence. You have a shitty attitude. You're prejudiced against the entire world. You act like a fucking princess with a broken tiara now because it didn't really earn you nothing. And I guess you're still a little broken because, you're walking flimsy. And no, you're not the heroic person that you're supposed to be. You're not that, like, great person that my daughter's supposed to look up to. So, hell no. And parents got to put their feet down at some point.
No, you're absolutely right, because again, that's what somebody like Larson is forgetting. She may be pushing her political views.
It's her own personal agenda, but it's not what she should be doing in that position.
Right, her own personal agenda, but she's forgetting that on screen, that little girl, your daughter, my daughter, is not going to see Larson. They're going to see Captain Marvel.
Yeah, and then they're going to go see what who she is and stuff, because that's what kids do. That's how they become fans. Well, you could have had a million little girl fans who would have been all about your feminism and stuff, but with that attitude, that's exactly what killed it all, was her attitude.
Mm-hmm. So, hopefully it's wrong. I'd hate to see a flop, especially for something as dumb as political points of view, but only time will tell. Hopefully we're wrong. Maybe it's just the typical case of bad reporting, fake news. I hate to use the term, but fake news. And maybe Captain Marvel's not doing as bad, and maybe even Larson isn't as terrible as she's been being made out to be. I doubt it, but I can hope.
Well, you can always check out the trailers, and the trailer itself wasn't even that great.
Oh, it was boring. It was absolutely boring.
It was, and you expect like some of the most adventurous and some of the most like hot parts of the movie, I guess you could say, right there in front of your face, and it's like, now I want to see that movie. But there's no action, pretty much. I mean, it looks like a girl struggling from a pod. Well, that sucks. Well, there are worse movies coming out too, but
true.
Like Black Phoenix, that trailer just swamped it. But it's something that looks like you could just pass up altogether, and then with all this publicity afterwards, it doesn't even seem worth it.
Well, I mean, they are reporting that the end of Captain Marvel is going to have 2 end credit scenes. One is supposed to be really emotional, and the other one's supposed to tie into Avengers Endgame. If anything's going to make me watch Captain Marvel, it would be that. because I'm so looking forward to Avengers Endgame. But I mean, the fact of the matter is like to get to I'm really going to oversimplify the character here, but Captain Marvel is Marvel's version of basically a Superman. You're failing if you can't make a Superman type character exciting.
It Good point. Yeah.
But speaking of exciting rumors, it's been reported for a little bit now. I know you're not a huge Star Wars fan, but I've got to talk about this. Obi-Wan Kenobi is being rumored to become a TV series on the Disney app coming up. Of course, Lucasfilm has been working on The Mandalorian and a prequel story for one of the characters from Rogue One, Cassian Andor. Well, now that it's been reported they have been working on a third show that will be releasing with the I guess on the app once it's available. And yes, according to MakingStarWarsNews.net, Obi-Wan Kenobi is the show that is happening.
No, that's pretty cool.
Two things here. One, the rumors have been going on from a lot of different sources. You can take it with a grain of salt. Even this, I'm still kind of taking with a grain of salt because until I hear Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm come out and say, hey, we're doing Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's all hearsay. However, it is making StarWarsNews.net. These guys are never wrong.
That's pretty cool. Like, my son loved watching all their other animated series. I watched them with him too quite a bit. They were actually pretty good.
So it's from what I understand, it is supposed to be basically what was originally rumored to be for a standalone film, which is following the story of Obi-Wan after Episode 3 and before Episode 4 in the Star Wars films. Whether or not it would have Ewan McGregor reprising his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi or not, I don't know. It wasn't reported. But I mean, if this is true, how excited do you think people would be to have it as a TV show, a series on the streaming network? Or do you think it's a bad idea and they should have stuck with the standalone film?
Oh, hell no. Do the series.
Simple
the short films are better, right? I mean, it's an animated film, and I mean, like, they're pretty, like, PG rated, so, I mean, kids will love that, and you can't really get kids to sit through a 3-hour film, but 30-hour segments, yeah, and I mean, that could last for, like, quite a bit longer than just the 3 hours.
Well, right, but we're talking about Star Wars fans. First off, it's not a cartoon. It's supposed to be a live action TV show. But, you're right. I mean, Star Wars has always been marketed mostly towards kids. But the fan base, I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I'm 42 years old.
What if it's like a prequel to another movie?
Well, it takes place between the first 3 movies and basically the holy trinity of 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so it's a 19-year gap between that too of what Obi-Wan was doing with his life while waiting for the main character Luke Skywalker to grow up. You know what I mean? So,
hey, well, if that's anything like the Netflix series that are coming out, like, those are just fucking killing it right now too. And that's like hour-long segments now. So, yeah, that could be really quite interesting.
All right. Well, I mean, anything Star Wars, I'm excited for. So if this turns out to be true, especially with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they do get Ewan McGregor to reprise the role of Obi-Wan, sign me up. Here's my money. Take it. I'm gonna be watching every episode. I'll probably be reporting
Honestly,
it here.
I've watched all the videos and stuff just like off the top of my head. Like, yeah, it was like years ago watching like like the little kind of paper minion looking. What's his name? I'm just pulling blanks now. The little smart alien-looking dude.
Yoda?
Yeah, that guy.
Yoda.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, but that was years ago. Like, I was like 7 and stuff. I think I had to watch like the whole series before episode 1 came out. So it was a long, long time ago. I mean, I kind of basically know what I'm talking about, but bring up certain characters, I'm like, well, shit.
Well, trust me, doing this show with me and Brian, you'll get caught back up on Star Wars soon enough.
I'll probably sit there sounding dumb and like crickets in the background.
No, with as much Star Wars geekdom as goes on in Realm of the Mist, you're either going to be going out, buying the movies, and sitting down and watching them again, or you're going to be like, oh, fuck these geeks.
Oh, there's definitely something to do. Like this summer, like kids have no school and everything. Like, hell yeah, let's watch them all. Like, you guys already pretty much know who they are and everything. We saw Solo in theaters, so they'd probably be down for that. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Right now, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break for comic collections, and when we come back, we're going to hit into one of the final stories that's going to be a little bit more political. So, parental advisory for those that are a little sensitive. But we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Dave from the Comic Collection at 83 Bustleton Pike in Feasterville, Pennsylvania. Our phone number is 215-357-3332. We are right next to Northeast Philadelphia. We have action figures, gaming, statues, albums, and CDs, graphic novels, other knickknacks, and, of course, comics. Established in 1985, we are your go-to store. Come by and say hello. And say that the guys from Radiocast FM Radio sent you. The address again is 83 Bustleton Pike, Feasterville, Pennsylvania, or call 215-357-3332.
And we are back, and I'm getting yelled at on the chat stream here. Apparently, AgroDad Gaming has been checking in, and he tells me to check my damn Twitch chat. Don't silence me. I'm not silencing you, dude. I had it up on my phone, and I just never looked down. Sorry about that. We've been talking. I completely forgot to check this chat. So that's on me. Nobody's silencing you, brother. But, yeah, but we are back. Thanks for joining in. We got through the entertainment section of this show. And now we're going into a little bit more of the political side. This is just more of a conversational piece. But with the things like Alexandria Cortez in the United States and Bernie Sanders throwing in his bid again for the 2020 presidential election and how many supporters they seem to have, it is alarming and concerning within the country of the United States at how popular socialist ideas are becoming within America. And I just wanted to get, like, especially because, like, with Venus, who is in Canada, not the United States, but in Canada, like, her point of view on, like, is it really concerning that socialism is on such a rise, considering that the United States, a misconception of the United States is that we're not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic, meaning that government is controlled by the people, and the people are represented by a Senate, and not a mob rule mentality, which would be democracy. And of course, constitutional is we are governed by the rules of the Constitution of the United States. Again, I'm simplifying. People are probably already listening to this, like, and going, "Well, that's not exactly what United States." No, I'm simplifying because most people should know, who live in this country, should know what this country is. But the fact that, like, yes, we are a capitalist society. A lot of things in this country are run through capitalistic gains and viewpoints, and for the most part, it's made us the richest economy in the world. But it's only for those who go out and earn it, who go out and work for it, and the ones that are being left behind because they're too lazy or whatever the case may be, are now flocking towards this idea that socialism, a democratic socialism, is the
Fuck
answer.
mean.
It's basically their way of saying, oh, socialism didn't work in the past, but a democratic socialism, we're going to do it right. Which is the same argument you heard over and over again. You heard it in Venezuela. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
How did they explain that? Like, you don't have democracy and socialism. It's one or the other. How are you going to combine these two? Like, I would love for someone to explain this properly.
I have been begging people to explain it to me, and all I ever get is read a book. That's their explanation. Read a book. I have read books.
How about you write a fucking book, jackass? Then I can follow what you're saying.
That's usually my argument. I've read Mein Kampf. You know, I've read the pamphlets of socialism and communism, and I'll be the first one to admit communism looks great on paper. It really does. On paper, the ideal of communism where everybody is treated equally and everybody has the same potentials as everybody else sounds absolutely fucking perfect on paper.
Sounds like bullshit.
In practice, on the other hand, every single time socialism has been implemented into a society, it has broken down into a communist, authoritarian regime, which has murdered millions upon millions of people and has oppressed millions upon millions more. Every single time. How could these people nowadays be so gullible as to believe that this idealism, no matter what adjective you put in front of it, would ever work in any country, but whether off the greatest country in the world? Arguably.
Arguably, yes. But
I'm fair enough to throw in arguably.
You know, at the way that like the whole world is at right now, like honestly, Russia's at my top right now. If I could move anywhere, I'd be in Russia. But
not something you hear very often.
Seriously, I love Putin. Like, he's fucking great. The whole world hates him, so he must be doing something right?
You know what? I agree with a lot of his ideals, but I trust him about as far as I could throw Michael Moore. So.
But yeah, back to that, like, everyone deserves like this equal everything. Like, okay, first off, like, if you don't have the education to be a doctor, you can't be a doctor. You don't deserve to get to be a doctor because that's what you think you deserve. You need to go to school for that. You're like, I know most doctors sit there on their phone nowadays and just Google symptoms and use WebMD. But
I used WebMD the other day. I had a runny nose and my eyes were kind of dry. So I looked up my symptoms on WebMD. Turns out I'm dying. You can't trust shit like that.
Oh, like, no, like, my daughter went to the hospital and her ears were plugged. Well, I was talking to her and she kept saying, what? And she couldn't hear me. She had a headache, her cheeks were red, and her face was poofy and stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, she's obviously got more than a cold. She goes to the doctor and the doctor says, oh, it's just a cold. She goes back a week later because she's still sick. It's, oh, no, she's got strep throat. I'm like, yeah, hello, her fucking mom knew that. I don't even have a PhD and you're supposed to be doing your job. That's the kind of doctors you're going to end up with in the States.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, okay, a perfect example. Free Medicare or free health care for all. Number one, again, with a capitalist society, even though, yes, doctors are a little overpriced here in the United States, that's putting it mildly, you're paying not only for the service, you're paying for their labor. Nobody is entitled to another person's labor. I'm not entitled to your labor. You're not entitled to my labor. You know what I mean? So I have a right to charge you what I feel is fair for my labor in whatever it is
Absolutely.
You want. That's ideally the way it is. Under free health care, doctors are given a flat rate pay. But they're pretty much on demand 24/7. They get no freedoms. They get no say. Their labor is at your demand. That's not fair. That's slavery. There's no
that's
nicer
what we have
way
in
to
Canada
put it.
here.
Yeah, it's slavery. And tell me, in Canada, how well is that working out? Let's
most
be
of
fair.
Most of our doctors are overworked. You're probably not going to see a doctor. The waiting list for even a surgery range anywhere from 6 months to over a year, depending on how bad you need the surgery. You have huge lineups at clinics. The emergency room is always full. You're going to be waiting like 5 hours to see a doctor if you go to an emergency room. You can be waiting longer than that. Hell, like I've seen people wait all night. I've heard of someone be shot and wait 12 hours to see a doctor. So it really doesn't pay. The only thing that does pay is that, yeah, you know, if you go see a doctor or a kid sees a doctor or your kid needs surgery, it's paid for through universal health care, which kind of works out. That's where your tax dollars money go to. It goes to anyone who needs it. So no one has to like freak out like, oh, no, we need to get this done, but we can't afford it right now. Well, no, it's paid for. Don't worry about it. You pay it forward a little bit.
You pay it forward, but let's go into that a minute. On average, the American, working Americans, breaking it down to every single tax, you know, that comes out of your paycheck and what you pay in taxes it would be tedious and make this extremely boring of a podcast. But to succinctly put it, roughly 33% of your total income goes to taxes within the United States. 33%. Now, yes, that gets broken down to federal, state, medical, welfare, whatever, you know. So it less of that 33% gets broken off each time to a different category.
That's all you pay in taxes there? That's all.
Give or take, yes. To get your universal health care and get these slave-driven doctors who aren't getting paid squat that they deserve and happen to wait 6 months to a year, but at least it's paid forward, how much does the average Canadian pay in taxes?
45 to about 55%.
Over half your income just to have that privilege. Where is that saving where would that save Americans money?
It really wouldn't. You're honestly better off just saving up 10% of your paycheck every paycheck and keeping it aside so that you can take care of your kids when they need help. Or, you know, they can have a GoFundMe account or something and you could be like, oh, well, I've got a bit more money than I need this month, so, you know, I'll pay it forward. There's always good people in the world, but to make you have to pay that, that's just bullshit.
Well, see, that's another thing about communism that is an issue. Or not communism, but socialism. Everybody is deserving of the exact same thing. I should make as much as Bill Gates, even though I'm nowhere near as technically savvy as Bill Gates. This podcast proves that. But I should make as much money as Bill Gates. No. Why should a high school dropout part-time burger flipper make as much money as somebody who's worked 20 years on a job, went to a trade or college, paid their hard-earned money to do so, and spent the time, years, and paid their dues to get there?
Bill Gates is a criminal, so, I mean, if you want to make more money, I mean, just follow his his footsteps and criminal away.
Well, no, you're absolutely right, but I'm just using like, why does a burger flipper deserve as much as a CEO of a corporation who incurred all of the risk to even become a successful business person and then employs hundreds to thousands of employees, taking money out of his own profits to make sure those employees are paid or have their benefits, if so, contracted under the employment status and stuff of that nature. Like, why does a part-time high school dropout deserve that type of thing? You don't. That's just taking out of somebody else's piggy bank. That's all it is. It's rewarding the lazy.
Well, would they raise everyone's pay, or would they drop it to the lowest paying person?
You know, it's funny. Nobody has mentioned it. But if we go through the history of communism, and socialism, it would be everybody would drop down to the lowest common denominator.
Well, there you go. No one's going to win there. You know, work your ass off for what, $8 a freaking hour, and you still have $1,500 rent? Would it be the same?
Agrodad is
sorry.
absolutely right. He says we already reward the lazy. It's called food stamps and welfare. You're absolutely right. But the fact of the matter is that basically the idea is that the rich should pay the poor. So the
But
poor
that's
won't be
not
poor
gonna
no
work.
more.
That's
But
not going to work. All they have to do is give a politician a bribe and say, "Let me keep my money and take me off those papers."
Oh yeah, of course they're working off the ideals that everybody is virtuous.
Oh, my ass. They didn't get there being virtuous, okay? Let's be honest.
Well, look, I'll use Star Trek as a perfect example as to their delusion of reality. Star Trek believes that the Star Trek mythos believes in a utopian future where everybody is absolutely equal. They've eliminated the need for economics because people no longer are driven by materialistic goals. Instead, they work to better themselves and all of humanity. These are great ideals. I take nothing away from that type of mentality for a future. The problem is there's a reason it's called science fiction.
Yeah, it's a fantasy.
Nobody in reality would ever, if you said to people, we're not going to pay you anymore, we want you to work because you want to work, every single one of us would be sitting down playing video games, watching porn, or on social media goofing around. None of us would go to work if we're not getting paid because there's no reason for it.
Yeah, but see, that's
It's a
part
lie.
of like exactly. But that's part of like the benefits of working is you get to make your own money. Yeah, you give some to help out other people with your taxes and shit. But at the end of the day, you work hard to buy what you want. So you can better your own life. I mean, if no one's getting any privileges or like anything like that, yeah, no one's going to want to do shit. Oh, I don't get to buy a new truck after I work 40 hours a week. Well, you know what? Fuck the 40 hours a week. No point in doing that then.
No, you're absolutely right. And the thing is like they want you to look at it as it's a charitable act. It's an act of charity. The difference between charity and extortion is the fact that people donate to charity because they want to donate to charity.
Because they can afford it.
Right.
Especially after taking care of themselves and, you know, even buying a new outfit. Like, can you even afford a new outfit? If you're like, well, you know what, I better just give it to somebody else.
You know, but when it comes to extortion, you're forcing payments to something that people may or may not choose to pay if they were left to their own device.
Yeah, see, I'd still pay someone in taxes to give, well, they have welfare systems and everything. Yeah, you know what? Sometimes people need that shit. Like, I was there. I'm sure everyone's been there like once or twice in their lives. So, yeah, you know, you do what you got to do to get them off their asses, and there you go. You don't have to worry about eating tomorrow. But you better get up and do something with your life.
Well, that's it. You know, it's not hard to figure out how the American dream itself works. And, I mean, it could work for every place. But, I mean, especially for the American dream. Okay, is the opportunities are there. You know, the Bill of Rights say that you have the right to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. Pursue. It is not guaranteed that you will have it, but you can pursue it. It is there for those that are willing to put in the work for it. Like Agrodad just said, my wife and I both work full-time 40-hour jobs. Neither have fancy cars. Our house isn't special. We have 2 kids. We live paycheck to paycheck. We go to the grocery store and have to stretch our money to feed ourselves. Yet I see people standing in line at like welfare and unemployment lines and shit like that on their iPhones with their hair and nails done with a cart full of food being loaded into their Mercedes. That's the fairness of the welfare system, a socialist system, is that hardworking people who are paying into that welfare from their hard work, from their labor, are scratching and scrimping to try to even get by, while people are just, why do I have to work? They're taking care of me.
And on top of that, too, like you work all this time. You don't get time with your family when you're working that much. you don't get time to see your kids or anything. Like, to take a day off and take your kid to the doctor is like the end of the world for somebody working. And you know what? The unappreciated motherfuckers who are driving around in their fucking Benz and Bentleys and crap, they're not even appreciated that. Like, go work harder, pay more taxes. Yeah, so what? You could sit there and do fuck all? Like...
Well, look, the biggest question I want to ask, especially because like I know Trudeau's pushing you guys towards a socialist regime as well.
Oh God.
You know, very hard. I watch the news. I know. I watch a lot of different news because I never believe one news source. But the fact of the matter is like, who is really to blame for the rise of socialism? Is it the politicians and the corrupt government officials, or is it something more? Is it something because of the fact that we as parents are failing to teach our children the value of hard work, the value of $1, and understanding that you don't always get what you want, but you get what you earn?
Well, they made a huge separation when they put hardworking people on one side of the spectrum, and then they put people needing assistance on the other side of the spectrum. Well, we'll give you all free benefits like people that need them. Well, people that work, you got to work harder. And so, like, they're being forced to work harder. They're not getting any benefits or any rewards. And pretty much they're pushing everyone into this position that, yeah, now we need assistance because they're limiting jobs. They're raising the taxes so much. Well, I need assistance. I can't work. Or, you know, like my family member's sick, so I can't work and I need to go on assistance, help with them. So they're making everyone reliable on the system. Straight up.
And that's, you just said it right there, reliable to the system. Easier to control. If the system is providing your lifestyle and well-being, it means that you need the system, and that means the system is in control and can do whatever they want as long as they continue to put water in your bottle, food in your bowl, and let you run around on your spinny little wheel. You're a hamster.
Yep.
The fact of the matter is that. But I really want to know why this is such a even hot button topic. Why do people think that socialism is the cure and answer to corruption in government, to equality within the societies, when every example of socialism, no matter what adjective you put in front of it, has always ended in violence, bloodshed, repression, and complete destruction of economics?
Well, when you're on assistance or whatever, like, you're reliable on the system. So when the system starts breaking because there's no one paying into taxes because they cut jobs, which people that don't work want to see happen. Well, I don't want him to have a new truck because I don't get one. Okay, well, now he's going to lose his job because they're going to cut jobs. Now they're going to stop taking taxes because he's not working to pay you these taxes. That little truck that he got, that he's in an 8-year agreement with, that he has to pay monthly payments on, he works for that. That's his little fucking gift or his little reward for doing what he does all the time. But now we're going to take that away. He's not going to have any rewards, and he's going to be here beside you. Well, now there's no one paying into taxes. There's no one paying into government funding. So now you're all on rations. Well, what happens when you're on rations? You're going to start killing other people for their rations. That's what happens. You're not getting enough, or you got cut off because of bad behavior, or you got cut off because you've met your quota for the week. You're going to go out and you're going to kill your fucking neighbor for his food.
And that's exactly it. That's the future America, Canada, and many other countries are looking at because of the rise of people who want something for nothing. Forgetting that It's got to come from somewhere, and that somewhere is going to be your money and your labor. That's the God's honest truth. I'm not sugarcoating this. This is the exact truth. This is how socialism works. We take it from those who have it to give it to those who don't. And then we take it from those who don't have it anymore, which is everybody now, and we give it to corrupt politicians who are now authoritarian, totalitarian. I'm tongue-tying myself here. totalitarian regimes. This is how the USSR was formed. This is how the current state of Venezuela became. This is how Cuba wound up with Castro. This has been proven over and over and over and over again. And I defy you. I'm asking you, please comment down below if you actually support democratic socialism, because I want to know why it's so appealing to you and why you think it'll actually work when history has proven 100% that it will not, because it never has. No matter what adjective you put in front of it, socialism does not work. It looks great on paper, but it does not work.
No, it's like they say you gotta like fill your glass before you can fill anyone else's. Well, guess what? Your glass is being taken away on socialism. You don't get a glass. Maybe you'll get to drink from a water spout.
You get a thimble.
You get a water spout, and it's 1-2, move it to the back of the line.
That's it. And of course that we're talking about lines. Things like Bernie Sanders has stated in the past where he thinks bread lines are a good idea.
Like, you can honestly learn how to, like, what do you call it when you mine water or whatever? You could learn how to do that, like tap into water in the ground, make your own little fountain, have multiple little fountains. Multiple people could go to multiple little fountains, but you want to have one little fountain for everybody with socialism.
Look, there's a reason America gave Americans the right to free speech and freedom of expression, and then right afterwards gave them the right to bear arms. It's to keep totalitarian government regimes from ever taking over the country. The people will remain free. I guarantee you, if you try to come after people's freedoms, or if you come after people's rights, or you try to come after people's guns or their money, they will defend themselves and their families.
They should absolutely do that too.
And I am one of those people. In fact, I'm begging you to try. I am begging you to try. I have been. You've seen it on Facebook. Every time I share something about somebody saying, "Oh, we should attack and beat up every Trump supporter. Oh, we should go right to their houses and take their guns." Please try. Please try.
You're gonna get shot first. These people probably work. They probably have a security camera outside. Their neighbors are probably police officers because they can afford to live in a safe environment. Get a job, people. Just get a fucking job, and then you'll see what you have to defend when you have your rights, your privileges, your hard-earned money, your whole life put into like this one little job. You go do that, and then see anyone try to steal any of that away from you. You work to buy a couch to sit on your lazy ass at home. Nobody's gonna steal that from you.
That's exactly it.
You take pride in your things that you own. You work for it, you fucking should be allowed to defend it.
That is absolutely truth. And the fact of the matter is, it isn't even about like defending the materialistic possessions. It's defending our freedoms and our rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And these things are protected under our freedom of speech and expression, and under our right to bear arms. The actual quote that, because a lot of people want to argue the Second Amendment right. They want to argue the quote that it was made by people who were talking about like muskets, black powder pistols. No. The exact quote of the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution is, "The right to bear arms shall not be infringed."
That means no altercations to what was said.
Exactly, which means it doesn't matter if we're a militia, because a militia was civilians anyway. It wasn't a military. The people's right shall not be infringed. It means you have no say. Technically, by word for word of the Second Amendment, you can make the argument that there shouldn't even be background checks or people being able to say you can or cannot buy a gun. if you want to go word for word. Now, yes, I do agree with like limitations of people buying guns, background checks, because there are nutters out there that want to do harm and use guns for things other than protection and stuff of that nature. So yes, I absolutely agree with them. But if you want to get technical, from using word for word of the Constitution, shall not be infringed means nothing can stop me from owning a gun.
Yep.
You know.
True that.
So, but that's an argument for another time. Let's go ahead and get into the final thing here. This one's an easy one here. Realm of the Mist is now on Anchor.fm. Guys, you can find us on Anchor.fm/ROTM-entertain. That is Anchor.fm/ROTM-entertain. Guys, you can find us there. You will find, of course, Realm of the Mist podcast. You will find War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast. And soon, hopefully tomorrow, It Had to Be Said, starring Venus. These things, we are setting up the schedule. Tentatively right now, the schedule is Realm of the Mist podcast will broadcast live here on Twitch, on YouTube, on Mixer, every Monday night at around 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday nights around 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time will be War of the Stars. And I believe we're looking at Tuesday nights. Again, this is still tentative for It Had to Be Said. Directly after the live performances, they will be uploaded to Anchor.fm for you guys. And, of course, Anchor will distribute these to things like iTunes, to Spotify, and many, many other places. So, in other words, tell your friends. You can find us in multiple platforms. Just look up Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Venus, are you excited to be debuting your show tomorrow? Why don't you tell us a little about
it? I hope my friend doesn't bail on me, because...
Well, if not, you got me. Why don't you tell us...
Well, there you go.
Why don't you give us a little preview of what you have planned for us then?
I don't know. I'm just going to let things piss me off tomorrow, and I'm just going to hold it inside and let it all out tomorrow night.
There you go. Well, Venus, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you if they want to get a hold of you?
Right here. I'm on Facebook, Venus Chan, or my backup account, Solar Nova. If you're friends with Chris, you'll probably find me a lot easier. Yeah, that's about it.
And, of course, you can find me at Christopher Michael Stolle on most of the social medias. You'll find me right here on Realm of the Mist podcast, as well as all the other Realm of the Mist shows. Don't forget, daily on YouTube, we also release Press A Gaming, which is video game Let's Plays and playthroughs. That is daily. So you guys will always have a video coming from Realm of the Mist Entertainment on YouTube and on Twitch. So, guys, check all that stuff out. Make sure you're showing love to Venus, to John, to Brian. And, of course, guys, go check out Anchor FM and find us on iTunes, Spotify, all the above. Without you guys, there is no us. And we're trying to put out the best possible entertainment for you guys for free. So you can't beat that. We're free here, you know. So come join us. Let us know what you want to hear and want to talk about. Maybe we'll put it on the next show. Until then, guys, thank you very much. Have a good night, and I will catch you on the next Realm of the Mist podcast. Have a good night.
Good night.